as far as Paul's solo record goes, at that time, Paul and I were kind of best friends. So we were hanging out and going to concerts, and we liked the same music. You know, I had auditioned for the band back in the day, and they took Ace because they felt he fit in better, but they always stayed in touch with me. And, you know, would call me up, you know, we're playing a show tonight in town. You want to come see us? Sure. You know, we're going to see a band. You want to come along? Sure. We're going to dinner. You want to come? Sure. So I hung out with them. So when it came time for the solo record, you know, I'd already done the Kiss Alive 2 stuff where they had asked me to come in because Ace was, shall we say, indisposed and couldn't play, and the deadline was nearing, and Kiss Alive 2 had to be done, and they had the studio side, and they had all these songs that didn't have solos and needed some more rhythms. And so I came in and played, and so Paul and Gene were well aware of what they had surmised in the first place. Is this guy's a great player, totally is in our vibe. You know, people thought that what I played on Larger in Life and All American Man, those songs were Ace, because, you know, it wasn't that far removed from what he could play. So, cut to Paul's record, we would go in the studio and work up the songs. So we would go to Electric Lady, you know, and Paul was like, you know, the bass player we could use. Sure. I'm playing with this guy, with Michael Bolton, and he went on to play with me and Meatloaf, Steve Buslow. So I suggested Steve, so Steve came down to Electric Lady, and Paul got Richie Fontana, a drummer from one of the bands that was part of the Bill Aucoin stable of bands, and we just started working up some of the songs and played them live and then fixed them up. And then, you know, as far as the solos go, you know, Paul realized that I was a player. And while there were times like on Goodbye where he would, you know, I hear this melody, you know, going up at the end of this part here. Okay, what are you hearing? And, you know, it's this kind of, okay. And we would come up with, what you heard on the record. But the vast majority of this, you know, Tonight You Belong to Me and Move On and Wouldn't You Like to Know Me, all those songs, those solos were just off-the-cuff solos. Okay, we're going to do the solo on Tonight You Belong to Me. Okay, I'm ready. And, you know, I just played what I felt. And to me, you know, there were times I've worked out solos, and I can always make them sound fresh because, you know, being a studio musician, you know, that was the trick. It was to be great immediately and give the client what they want. So it was no different with Paul. I know what he's looking for. I know what he wants me to play. And because the vibe was there and the magic was there, it was easy. It wasn't like a tooth extraction, try again. It wasn't. It was like, wow, you think you could play any better than that? I don't know. I could play different. I don't know if it could be any better. You know, I mean, a lot of those solos were within a half hour. Literally. Some of them first take. Just because of, you know, the feeling I had for what I was doing, which was, this is my best friend. I want to make this as good as it can possibly be. And I want to show everybody what this band could have sounded like with me on guitar. So there was always that in the back of my head, especially on the Kiss stuff that I played, Nowhere to Run, Partners in Crime, you know, Rockin' in the USA, all of the songs that featured me, not Ace. I always knocked myself out, but you know what, I got to make this like spectacularly great for them and for me. Because they knew that I was the player and I knew I was the player. And if nobody else knew, that was part of what it was. So you can't tell anybody that you did this. I know, I got it, I understand. But years later, after they got rid of Ace and they finally listened to me and got my brother, then it was like, you know who actually played on there? That was Bruce's brother Bob. You know, they finally owned up to it. And so now everybody knows that, you know, go to YouTube. You can see me playing All American Man. There's 10 videos of me playing it with different bands. And there's no question, is that the guy that played the record? Listen to the solo. It's exactly the solo, with exactly the same vibrato. Somebody could have learned that, but you can tell that this is the guy that did it. Yeah. So, you know, somehow, you know, all of that stuff from the past has resurfaced now, balanced. The Kiss stuff, Meatloaf, all of the things, Alice Cooper, all of the stuff from my past is standing in front of my face again now. And to me, that's the greatest thing about it. It's like all of what I've done, all of the people that I worked with that I thought were special, are still around. And that's really a blessing. Because we're all older now, and we know that this lifestyle does not create longevity as far as life goes. A lot of my friends are gone. A lot of the people that I played with, Lou Reed, for instance, just this year. I'm doing an interview about something that is personal to me. Can you tell us about your experience with Lou Reed? Sure. And knowing now that the guy's gone. He's gone. You know, it's hard. It's very hard. I'm thinking of my experience, realizing you're on this list too now. You're not a child anymore. Anybody can be taken at any time. We don't know what fate has in store for us. But I see what's happening. Ronnie Montrose, you know, some of the people that I've worked with, they're not here anymore. And so I treat every day like it's my last. Every project I've on, I treat like as my last. Because you don't know. And I want my legacy 100 years from now for people to worship me the way I worship those that are no longer around, the way I feel about Jimi Hendrix and some of the people that I saw, John Lennon, that I saw with my own eyes, that I got to hear play, that I got to hear sing, that I got to meet. Those people are gone. And so I feel that I owe it to myself and to the audience to give it everything I have before I'm gone. And hence, the reason for doing this is that reason. That, for whatever reason, fate has offered us this opportunity. And so I trust in fate. A man must accept his fate or be destroyed by it. Not going to be destroyed by it. I'm going to go with it. So I accept that this blessing has been offered us, a chance to get up and play these songs again. So I look forward to it, and I can't wait to get up there.
But if we stick to the Paul Stanley album, so your goal was to show everyone how Kiss would have sounded if you were in the band?
Correct, and then I got to play the songs on Paul's tour. So I could actually get up there and play Goodbye and Tonight You Belong to Me and Wouldn't You Like to Know Me and some of those songs. So that was a real meaningful thing for me because people knew that I was the one who played on the record. And they actually got to see the person that actually played it on the record.
And you record.
That's special.
Yeah, and you recorded that album both on the East Coast and then on the West Coast. Was it a different vibe, those two recording sessions?
Yeah, it was a different vibe. The New York stuff was all very off the cuff and no pressure attached. And, you know, we just thought we were doing the demo. So, let's just put the stuff down and maybe we'll re-record them later when we go to Los Angeles. But there was no need to re-record them. They were fine. And in Los Angeles, you know, the distraction of, you know, Los Angeles and all of, you know, we're going to the beach and we're doing this and we're doing that. We're sitting out at the pool. You know, it kind of took away from the New York kind of, we're going to Electric Ladyland and we're going to record. And that's all we're doing. Then we're going home. Whereas this was, you know, everybody hanging out and doing all of this, that, and the other thing. And, you know, when Paul brought Paul Glicksman in, you know, it was kind of like, now we have sort of a producer guy, and we're going from studio to studio. It was a different vibe, whereas, you know, we just set up shop at Electric Lady, and Dave Whitman, who was an engineer that worked on, you know, a lot of the Kiss stuff, really great engineer, was there with us, and we didn't really need any help, you know, like Paul Stanley needed a producer. For what? To tell him what? You know, to nod his head and go, great. You know, so it was different. You know, not that I didn't like Glicksman, you know, but we really didn't need any help. It was all about Paul. It was all about him getting this, you know, my thing out of the way. I want to do my thing with these people. And, you know, we had a great time. And Gene wanted me to play on his record as well. And there was this whole big argument about it. And, you know, here I am stuck in the middle wanting to do both. But, you know, Paul was like, look, we're all doing solo records. If you're on his record and you're on my record, then it's like the same record. So, you know, I'm claiming you and you'll have to work with Gene another time. And Gene was like, you know, we got to understand Paul's point, and, you know, we'll do it some other time. Okay, that's fine. I understand you. You're my friends. I support whatever decisions you make. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm still friends with them today.
So
because I never abused or argued with them about their decisions, but their thing. They're very specific about what they want to do. And that's why they are so successful. That's why they are members now of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So you know, have to tip your cap to them. As I said, the true sign of greatness is longevity. I got up and played with Gene on stage at this jam thing a couple of Octobers ago, and never really played with him, mainly played with Paul, and it was just great. Me and Bruce and Eric Singer and Gene up there was like, holy shit, this is great. And what was even better to me was Gene whispering in my ear right before we went on. He whispered in my ear, what could be any better to have on guitar than you and your brother?
True.
It's the nicest thing he could have said. That is the nicest thing he could have said. He knew exactly what to say. And I thought, what do you say to that? Thank you, Gene. I really appreciate that you would say that. And I've said it several times, that he didn't have to say anything, but yet that's what he chose to say, to give my brother and I our due. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So the reason why you wrote with Gene, why you wrote Naked City, is because you played on Paul's solo album. Was that what you said? Because Gene wanted you for his solo record. Paul said, "Oh, you can write with Bob later." And is that how Naked City came about?
No, you know, Paul was more interested in me as a guitar player. He didn't view me as a co-writer, where Gene kind of was always searching for, you know, any ideas, just let me know. You know, so, you know, went up there and played him the music for Naked City, and I was just like, what do you think of this? This seems like something fairly in the ballpark of what you guys are doing. And he was just like, yeah, I agree, you know, and, you know, within a couple of days, he had a melody and lyrics for that piece of music, and it was like, Naked City, I like that. That's a really good idea. So it just, you know, it just happened that way. The same with the song that was on Gene's solo record, the S-Hole record, Now That You're Gone, I wrote with him back then in the same period of time.
Okay, yeah, interesting. Well, last time I spoke to you, I guess it was 5 or 6 years ago, you mentioned that your original idea for Naked City was a bit lighter, and then Gene made it more darker. And you also said that Ace kind of ruined that song. so the question is, how would you have played different if you were able to play on the record with Kiss?
Well, again, you know, the producer at the time for that record was Vinnie Poncia. Had they had Bob Ezrin or Eddie Kramer or one of the other producers who was more heavy-handed, I think the song would have been heavier in the presentation point of view. And what I meant about the way Ace played it, you know, the way I came up with the chord progression that is the intro and the chorus, I played at one part, so my thumb fretted the low note, and my other fingers played the higher part, which was the same part. They separated those to make it into two guitars. And to me, it never sounded the same because it was two guitars, and that was not my intention of how it should have sounded. It's a minor nuance, but to me, it was the whole ball of wax. So there was a song where I was just like, well, I really wish you would have let me play my idea on your record, you know, but it was not meant to be. And again, you know, being involved with them in any way, shape, or form has been a real blessing in my life. The fact that when they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I was talking to Tom Morello at that period of time about him working on a project that I'm doing now. And so when I texted him, really love what you said about Kiss, that was really great, you know, and I know how honored they are that you were the one that presented them with the award. He literally texted me back in 5 minutes, thank you, that means a lot coming from you. I'm like, you know, what do you say to that? You know, it's certainly something special, you know, so that's the other thing that Kiss did for me. They introduced me to other people who I wound up working with, and you know, like Diana Ross, the introduction that was made for me by Gene Simmons, you know, turned into a hit record for me. I was the one who played guitar solo on Why Do Fools Fall in Love. Who made that introduction? Gene Simmons. I want you to meet my girlfriend, Diana Ross. She needs a solo on this song. I want you to come to the studio and do it. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
They paid back by showing me with action, not words. Here's a gig for you because I believe in you, Bob. I think you can play with anybody. You can play with Kiss, you can play with Balance, you can play with Diana Ross.
Mm-hmm.
And history shows it, that my versatility as a guitar player, and I'm not just saying this, but it's true because, like I said to you, I like all kinds of music. It was an honor and a privilege to play on a Diana Ross record, somebody that I had seen as a child, with a band that was undeniable. Supremes were undeniable. I mean, that was, think about those songs. Think about her voice. Oh, my God. What an amazing singer. What an amazing act. And here I am on stage with Diana Ross at a giant stadium in New York, playing the #1 hit song. And she had to come down and play the solo, and I look up and I'm on the screen with Diana Ross. Can you imagine how I feel about that? One of the biggest stars that ever was. Kiss, Alice Cooper, Diana Ross, all of that. I mean, how lucky can you be?
Yeah.
I totally consider myself lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky that my preparation was there when the opportunity came.
Well, Paul Stanley has started to talk about a new solo album, which will not be like Live to Win. It will be more like his first solo album. So, would you like to be part of that new Paul Stanley solo album?
Well, we'll see what fate has in store. Certainly I would be a liar to say that I, wouldn't want to work with him or on it, of course. But, he may be in the mindset of moving on like he did for the second record, no pun intended on the song title. We'll just have to see how the cookie crumbles. I see them often enough. If I email them, they email me back. But obviously, they're on their own flight paths. They're going to do this tour with Def Leppard and all this stuff that's going on. I speak to Eric all the time. After all, Eric and I were the guitar player and drummer in Paul's solo tour. And that's how Eric wound up in the band. After poor Eric Carr died, they realized that Eric Singer was like, the guy can really play the stuff. He's got a great image. Gene saw him play with Paul on the solo tour that I did with him. And so it was obvious. The fate was staring them in the face. Well, here's our new drummer. Sadly, I'll never forget Eric Carr. That was, something fairly horrible. Another person, like I said, who is no longer with us.
Yeah, but have Paul asked you yet?
No.
No. Okay. I was watching a YouTube clip earlier today from the Kiss Indie Expo last year when you performed with your brother and you did All American Man and Larger Than Life. I would love to see a collaboration between you and Bruce, either on an album or if you were doing some live shows. Have you ever discussed doing something together? Because you haven't done anything together, you and Bruce, really, beside Meatloaf.
We have discussed it, and we actually have put together 3 or 4 songs.
Wow.
With the idea of putting something out and then doing some shows behind it. It's just a matter of when. His schedule is busy, and so's mine. But I think it's possible that we might be able to get these 4 or 5 pieces done this year and consider for the beginning of next year, putting something out. And then seeing if the market would like to see us play with, I'm sure we could put together a band fairly quickly. Some friends, some name guys, some people that would make sense. So yeah, we are talking about it. It's in the works. When? We just have to see.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So
somebody like you would say that because, it just reinforces, what we're feeling, which is that it's something we haven't done, and there's value in that.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
There is, and I can see that the audience would enjoy it, and it would definitely be something that we would enjoy.
Okay, cool. So you are planning some sort of album release next year, perhaps, if everything works out?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So how would you describe your different styles? Because in my mind, I can tell a Bob Kulick solo from a Bruce Kulick solo. Can you do that as well?
Yeah, well, I think, certainly those who know the style and the vibe of what they're hearing can identify players. I agree with you. I think we both have identifiable styles. I don't think he sounds like me, and I don't think I sound like him. But, the common thread stylistically of what we play, somebody once asked me to describe my guitar playing style. And I was like, well, that's a very interesting question. And I thought, I play blues, hard rock with heavy metal overtones. Which is exactly, studied the blues stuff from Clapton and Hendrix. Got a lot of the rock stuff from Jimmy Page and, the Beatles and Jeff Beck. And the heavy metal overtones came from all the people that came after that. Tony Iommi and Randy Rhoads and a lot of the heavier stuff that I was influenced by. So, a blues-based hard rock with heavy metal overtones. That's my style. Whereas Bruce is more of a contemporary player in that he has more Eddie Van Halen kind of gimmicky stuff to throw into his pile of tricks. So I think he's a little bit less blues-based oriented and a little bit more, shall we say, flashier style, a little bit more on the scale end of it, even though, he knows probably everything I know, certainly as a guitar player, I think he's amazing guitar player and can play anything, my equal and more. I just feel that, my, branching out into production and all of that, I've spent more time as a producer of late than I have as a guitar player, although I do play on a lot of the records that I produce.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I would say that you are more aggressive in your playing, and Bruce is more softer around the edges, perhaps.
Yeah, that might be. So my heavy metal overtones must be taking over.
Yeah. Yeah.